Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us today. Before we get started with the class, I'm just going to do a few housekeeping items. I just want to let everybody know this program will be recorded. If you did not wish to appear on the recording, either voice or video, please make sure that your audio and video are disabled. Interactions via chat will not appear on the recording. We will have this class up. It usually takes about a week or so after the class for it to show up on our YouTube page. But if you go to YouTube and look for the SAPL, MYSAPL channel, and then go to playlists, you'll see all of our crypto classes will be in one playlist. So you'll be able to watch this or send it to friends. I don't know if anybody that's joined us for our other classes, what we'll do is we'll have our kind presenter, Mr. Alex Eaton, will do his presentation and talk a little bit. If you want to ask questions, you can. It doesn't look like we're going to have a huge class today. So Alex, did you want people to sort of ask as we go along, or would you prefer the questions in chat?
Yeah, I mean, since we really only have just a few people, if let's open this one up, and please interrupt me at any time and ask me any questions. And also, I have my business partner on here, Andy, for the first time. So he's going to help me with some of the deeper dives if anybody really wants to go that far down, because we're going to try and keep it as light as possible. Yes. Really, like, what is it? How does it work? Yes. How to do it? I'll do a quick demo on, I'm actually going to make an NFT and post it to show you kind of how fast and easy it really is. And kind of the potential of it. And yeah, and then of course, questions would be at the end. But in this case, yeah, just feel free to chat it out or just turn on your mic and ask.
Okay, cool. Thank you very much. And like I said, Alex Eaton will be presenting, and Andy, thank you for joining us as well. Always good to have double team if we have questions, hard questions to answer. What I will do, we're a few minutes past. If anybody joins us after, I'll just let them in. If you hear the dinging, that's what that is. Otherwise, whenever you're ready, Alex, if you want to start, we can go ahead and start.
For sure. Just a moment. I'm just going to hit share my screen.
Okay.
Okay, so if you've taken these classes before, the last two, you know, I don't really like to read off the PowerPoint. This one, I realized that people kept asking for the PowerPoints after the fact, so I loaded it with words so somebody could actually read it and learn from it without me having to, you know, read out every little thing. So there's a lot of great information in here that I'm going to kind of skip over kind of fast, but please feel free to type your email in or give it to Rhonda, and we will get this presentation out to you and, you know, enjoy. So quite simply, as every class, who am I? Why should you listen to me? And what do I know, right? Keeping it simple, 2012, got out of the Army as a medic, heard about Bitcoin while I was going to business school, and it's been 8 years now. And we've just been teaching, Andy and I, building, learning, educating, protecting, defending, and really just everything in the space. It's always something new, and you learn how to help people in another way. But overall, this is my favorite thing in the world to do, is to teach. It's my passion. So, you know, my number and contact information is on the right, and feel free to reach out to me if you need help. So this is what we're going to go into today. It's quite simple: what it is, how does it work, attributes of an NFT, or what makes an NFT an NFT, how are they used, and a lot of examples of them. An NFT wallet, which is where you would store your NFTs, is very much similar to a crypto wallet. However, not all crypto wallets store NFTs. So we're going to go into two of those really quick. One that I genuinely use and prefer, and one that I think is very good as well. It just depends on what you're trying to do in this space. Buying an NFT, selling an NFT, which, like I said, we'll do a quick demo. And then a couple quick NFT marketplaces that you can get started and take a look at what's out there. The one thing I will say about NFTs is it doesn't always make sense the first time you hear about it, and it certainly doesn't make sense the 10th time you hear about it. But then you start doing your research and you realize, you know what? Not everything has to make sense to you for it to work, right? So that's the one thing that I'll say to preface this, is I'm still understanding NFTs. They are not necessarily new. They've been around for a really long time. Well, a really long time being about 2016, 2017 with the invention of CryptoPunks, and I'll show you what that is in a little bit. But overall, what is an NFT? It stands for non-fungible token. And what is a non-fungible token? Well, with that, let's kind of get into what is fungible, right? And what is non-fungible. And so have this nice little list right here. But overall, what I want you to see is basically fungible is interchangeable. Fungible would be $1, right? You can trade $1 for $1. Although the serial number is different, it's still worth $1. It's the same thing. You know, trading a limited, an unlimited Pokemon card for another unlimited Pokemon card, right? Very, very similar. Non-fungible would be something that's very unique, not necessarily one of one, but in this case, one of one, although you can split it into others. Not divisible, right? However, that's changing over time. We're starting to see NFTs become divisible, but that's still, and I'll go into that as well, but that's still a little bit new. And then more than anything, it's just the ability to trade one for one, right? So that's kind of the difference between fungible and non-fungible. And I want to go back one slide real quick and just kind of real quick. I love this one. So they're
Alex,
not.
can I interrupt for just 1 second?
Yeah,
There's a little window showing on here that says opening NFT class. I don't know if you can see that.
No, I don't.
Oops, sorry.
Let me reshare and see if that works. Any luck? Did it go away?
It's still there. It's just sort of small in the middle. I don't think it'll really do anything, but I just didn't know if you could see that or.
Oh no, I can't. Sorry if you guys can.
You're good.
I've got 2 screens up. I could try the other one, but anyway, mainly they're not directly interchangeable with other tokens, right? So you can't take an NFT that's one of one and trade it for an Ethereum, right? I mean, you could sell it for an Ethereum, but it's not the same. And so fungible, non-fungible. So what are they used for? There's a whole giant list, and we'll get into that in a second. Please feel free to read. But they're used for genuinely almost anything. You know, at first it was digital art. You know, we would talk about, oh, you know, this guy sold a digital art for $60 million, and that really got people going, wait, what are NFTs? But at the end of the day, it's not just digital items. You can actually create an NFT of a physical item. A good example is went to a NFT conference in Miami about 3 months ago, and they were auctioning off an NFT of a Porsche that had been painted by an artist, and it was, you know, very nice, very beautiful, a one of one, right? Because it was an artist painted the entire car. It was very beautiful, and they NFT'd basically like the ownership of it, right? And so whoever won the bidding got the NFT of the car, and with that came the physical item of the car. So I don't want you to think it's just art, or it's, you know, just these little trading cards. You know, it's anything. You know, I even NFT'd. My first thing I ever did was I took a limited edition piece of art that was limited to like 40, and I NFT'd it as number 8 of 40, because that's the one I owned. And I actually sold it for about $3,000, which blew my mind, because it only took about 45 minutes to sell. And that was the day I was like, okay, you know what? I still don't understand NFTs and why people want them so bad, because the truth is I couldn't have made probably more than about $300 if I had sold that item in its physical, you know, it's a physical item on eBay, about $300. That's how much they sell for. So how crazy is it that all I have to do is NFT it, put it on an NFT marketplace, and all of a sudden, for some reason that I still won't understand, maybe Andy can help later on. But you know, value is perceptive. You know, it's everybody thinks something's worth a certain value. So that's one of those things where you might not understand why somebody's going to spend $60 million on a piece of art. You know, no, you're not meant to, right? So a couple things here, really just the highlights is, it's not just crypto people anymore, right? It's companies, it's businesses. You know, Charmin made their non-fungible toilet paper and sold it for charities, as did Taco Bell. Nyan Cat, which I'll show you a picture of if you don't know what that is, sold for $600,000. And that's really just people taking their digital art that they made and selling it. LeBron James made an NFT and sold it for $200,000. Snoop Dogg, Lindsay Lohan, everybody's kind of getting on this, because at the end of the day, it only costs you a tiny little bit to try, right? And that's called minting, and I'll get into that in a second. It's not free to NFT. You do have to spend a little bit to post your item. So attributes of an NFT, and this kind of goes back into what is an NFT, right? With those special properties, but it's really good to show you. So if you own an NFT, right, it does a few things. It proves ownership. No one can manipulate that ownership because it's immortalized in the blockchain. So nobody can go back into the Ethereum blockchain and say, oh, that wasn't Alex that bought that or sold that, that was me, right? Manipulating the blockchain is an impossible task. Hence, getting ownership of something that you own in this space is an impossible task. you can sell it and you can earn original, or you can earn royalties on it, which is actually really nice. And I'll go into that a little bit too, but keeping it really simple, if I chose to sell my NFT for $100, and you can pick every marketplace allows you to choose a different royalty. Most of them let you go up to 50%. If you sell it at 50%, it's probably not going to sell, because that means that when somebody sells your item, because you can sell to them, they can sell to somebody else. It's a marketplace, right? So if I sold it for 100 and they sold it for 1,000 and I had a 10% royalty on it, then they would make $900 and I would make $100. And so it's always good to put a royalty on it, or in some cases it's not good to put a royalty on it, because people do look for that. And if they think that they're buying something to hold on to and sell for more money later, if your royalty's too high, they're probably gonna skip it, because they want all of the money that they make from their sale, as opposed to giving the originator. But that's why royalties exist, and they're actually quite awesome for the original owner. So if you sell something that sells continuously for many years, you can continuously make money off that one project, which is really, really nice. And if you create an NFT down at the bottom, again, you can prove that you're the creator. You can determine your scarcity by choosing, do I want it to be 1 of 1? Do I want to make 5 of this? How do I want to play it? And when I make an NFT a little bit later in this class, I'll show you exactly what I mean by that. Like I said, you can earn royalties and you can sell it on any market, peer-to-peer, as long as it's an Ethereum market. If you built an Ethereum NFT. Go ahead, Andy.
Just a couple of things.
I'd love you to. Please do.
Yeah. So everybody, so sorry to butt in. Alex is doing phenomenal. So this is Andy Gonzalez. I got into crypto 2012, and I met Alex in a coffee shop because he was the only person that would reach out to me in those times about being interested in crypto in San Antonio. So anyway, just to get into the NFT deal really quick and why it's so important. Bitcoin is the originator of the concept of blockchain. And the reason why Bitcoin is so important and why it's really creating a revolution here in terms of digital scarcity and digital value is because for the longest time, as long as we've had digital assets in terms like thinking files, databases, anything that is a file that is digitized is easily copied. So the reason why a non-fungible token is so important is because now that we've figured out how to create digital scarcity, starting with Bitcoin, NFTs are a way to make scarcity out of things that are actually virtual or things that are digital. But not just that, more importantly, like Alex has been mentioning, we can now directly tie a physical thing that exists on this planet to a digital, for example, fingerprint. So with an NFT, you're creating a digitized fingerprint that cannot be copied. You can't just copy paste and make more of one NFT, because as Alex has been mentioning, blockchain make it definitive and make it very unique and make it very difficult to copy or try to say, hey, this is actually the NFT that you're looking for, but really the blockchain identifies and verifies and validates. Obviously with mining, it definitely tells you if it's the right NFT or not. And the power to do that is very valuable, because today, if you wanted to tie your piece of property to, say, a title or ownership, prove title and prove ownership of any item that you have or piece of property, you always have to use the government. And while governments are extremely valuable, and it's one of the most important things that humans have come up with is how to govern ourselves, it's often difficult to do that for the layperson. So if a layperson wanted to come up and try to prove ownership or try to create a title or create an ownership proof of whatever they have, we now have the way to do that more easily with cryptocurrencies and blockchain. So blockchains are now leveling the playing field and giving anyone around the world with an internet connectivity a way to tie ownership digitally, and leveraging the technology that is blockchain to more easily and more economically prove ownership. And Alex is talking about all the benefits that come with that, including royalties. So you don't have to hire an attorney. You just have to know how to use the blockchain. And Alex is opening that door for all of us here today. So Alex, thank you, and carry on. I just wanted to make that point there.
I love it. Little background about Andy. He's been going to law school for the entirety of law school. So it's always about law with Andy, which is really good. Good to have a lawyer. All right, so moving on. Fractional ownership. Now this is kind of new. I would say this is still being developed. I would not see this. I have not seen this happen yet, but it is something that will very much happen. And there's a lot of information here, but mainly I just want to say fractional ownership is basically, imagine in the future if you could take something like a Picasso, if you own something like that, you could NFT it. And instead of trying to sell it for $100 million, you could make 100 parts of that NFT, fractional ownership, right? And then if it was worth, easy numbers, let's say it was worth $1,000 and you made 100 versions of it, you could sell each one for $10. And then somebody could actually afford a piece of something that is highly valuable. And as the value goes up, you own 1/10 of it, your value goes up. So I hope to see this happen more and more in the next couple of years, where we see these, rare one-offs, like a Da Vinci, right? Like how cool would it be to own like 1/1,000,000th of a Da Vinci, because the guy who, wanted to NFT it thought he could sell it for 10 million and decided instead to, sell and own, a fraction of ownership for $2, right? And so if it goes up, doubles in value, your ownership doesn't do anything, but your money would double as well. So fractional ownership, really cool stuff for the future. Now, I've actually practiced this a couple times today with Rhonda and stuff, but genuinely, I love this slide because this kind of shows how we always in this space talk about a new internet, and there's not really going to be a new internet. Of course, you need the internet to run all this, but it's different ways of applying the internet in our new, in this day and age, right? So instead of like a song being an MP3 or a file, an NFT is one of one, right? And so that really helps with ownership. Every NFT must have an owner, and this is public record where anybody can go to the blockchain and look up who owns it. Whereas on the internet today, ownership is, recorded and controlled by, a third party. Same thing with content creators. As an NFT, you can make and sell whatever you want, whenever you want, wherever you want, 24/7, without the need of the last 30 years of internet building, where all of a sudden you have to use a platform that's going to take, 20, 30% of everything that ever comes through it. A good way of applying this, I think, especially in video games in the future, is right now there's been this big law battle this year between Epic and Apple, because for the last 30 years, every single time somebody publishes a game on anything, if Nintendo publishes your game, if Apple publishes your game, they're going to take 30%. Epic brought it down to 15%, and it's been this crazy, kind of change where a lot of companies are now bringing it down to 15%. But the truth is, with something like NFTs, to create a video game, right, as an NFT, that would be an amazing future where you don't have to even use a publisher. Although, to be fair, the internet does still do that, where somebody can just come to our website and buy our game through our website, and then they don't have to pay the fees. Content creators retain ownership rights over their work and can earn royalties. Once again, going back to the internet, not so much, right? It's really about taking power from the people that have built over the last 30 years, not that they didn't build wonderful things, but nobody wants to, be born, wake up, grow up, and have to be paying 40% of everything they earn because somebody built something years ago that they had no ability to be a part of, right? So we're just kind of stuck. And so I think this is a really good way for developers, content creators, artists, builders of really any technology to really kind of push their goods without having to deal with, the infrastructure that's kind of been cannibalizing a lot of their work. So, and I do highly recommend you go through all this if you want the class later. So I'm not going to touch on this too much. They work because of blockchain, and you know what? Thank you, Andy, because Andy just kind of did this slide for me. But quite simply, it does run on blockchain. That's how it works. It's just like transferring a Bitcoin to a Bitcoin wallet. If I have Bitcoin and I want to send Andy Bitcoin, I'm going to send it to him. It's the exact same process for the most part. It's just a little bit different as far as wallets. With this, there's something called minting, which is where you're actually creating the NFT and putting it on the blockchain. And that's where that cost comes in, where I said NFTs aren't free. You do have to pay a tiny little bit to get started, and that tiny little bit is basically the transaction fee or the minting fee, as it were, to upload your image, file, whatever we're talking about, whatever you want to create onto the blockchain. And very importantly, we're talking about Ethereum pretty much 99% of this class, but Ethereum is not the only blockchain you can use. It just has been the only one that really has been used up until about 5 months ago. They dominated the NFTs. I mean, it was 99%. And I'd say they're probably about 90%. And you see other blockchains like Solaris, Zil, Binance, and a few others. And one of my big favorites, one called ADA or ADA, or otherwise Cardano is the big company name. They actually have a proof of stake smart contract platform that comes out next month. And I'm really kind of hyped about that one because I want to be able to create NFTs through a proof of stake wallet as opposed to a proof of work blockchain. And if you didn't go to the other two classes, proof of work is how Bitcoin is made right now, where your computers are working to solve a mathematical equation to create that Bitcoin every 10 minutes when every block is found. Whereas proof of work is incredibly less electrically intensive due to the fact that you don't have to have those computers running 24/7 to solve that problem. Instead, it's very much similar to putting your money into a bank and earning interest. Proof of stake is staking, and staking is basically just another way of saying, let's earn interest on this. So if there's a stake rate of 2% a year, that's 2% interest a year. If you put 100 coins in and it has 2%, at the end of the year, you'll have 102 coins. And it's so much less labor intensive as far as electricity. So I'm really hyped and excited about these new blockchains that are coming out that'll allow this to happen, but hopefully a lot cheaper. And then just a couple quick little things like, we talk about what is an NFT. Some of my big highlights, like Jack Dorsey, the founder of Twitter, he sold his very first tweet. All he did, I'm sure he just put like Control-Alt-4 on his Apple and took a picture of his tweet and uploaded it as I'm about to do and show you guys how to do, and sold for $2.9 million. I don't know if he put royalties on that or not, but if somebody sells that for $3 million and he put 10%, he's going to make another $300,000 off of it. How cool is that? I really wish I had thought of that. So what can an NFT be? And really, like I said, it can be almost anything. It really can. You can get really weird, and you could technically like NFT a live thing. I could NFT my dog and say, if you buy this, I will give you my dog. And it's crazy, but it is very true. And Andy, don't feel like you have to say anything, because I know you pay attention to the law a lot more than I do. Last time I checked a couple months ago, I did check with a couple lawyers and asked what the legalities were as far as selling physical items, and do I have to give them the physical item? Do I as the seller get to choose? And the last time I was told was right now it's kind of open. In fact, even taxes are slightly open because they don't know how to tax it yet, but it is still taxed. But let's not get into that yet. That's later. So essays, books, writings, muses, tweets, blogs. This class right now, I could take the video of this at the end of it, and as long as it's not too big, because a lot of these marketplaces want it to be a certain file size. If this was 5 gigs, I would have to go to a very specific market. But I could sell this video, or I guess the library could, for that matter, since technically they'll own it and have it. So yeah, try that, Rhonda.
Everything's free at the library.
Yeah. Tickets. If I wanted to make a Bitcoin conference here in San Antonio, Texas, and I wanted to say I only have space for 100 people, and I don't want to go through Ticketmaster. In fact, I don't want people to pay. I want people to earn a ticket. Of course, I could have them pay as well, and they could buy those NFT tickets, of which there would be 100. And then they would have a ticket to the event. And then they could also sell that ticket before the event to somebody else if they wanted to go. So that's like a kind of a new way of Ticketmaster, right? Without having to give Ticketmaster the money to do it. So tickets, same thing as event admission. Membership icons. This is so small, but it's also kind of sweet, right? If you're part of a Twitch channel or something like that, an owner can actually create NFT images and give his same thing with Patreon. You can actually give people images that they can use, right? So anything and anything, pictures, videos, digital artwork, physical artwork. I may have said this already, or maybe I told Rhonda earlier, but yeah, you can even sell a car, right? Most recently, I actually found you can sell sounds, because while I was doing this class and building it up, I really started digging harder into the marketplaces. And as much as I do not need a 3-second sound that goes, you can buy that and you can own it. Why do you want that? Why do you need that? That's, again, based on the perception of the individual. If a artist was to make a new song, they could NFT it, and they could literally sell the ownership of that song. And how cool would it be to own, your favorite band's song, literal ownership of it, to where they sold it to you, you bought it, and now it's yours. And so there's a lot of just, it takes a little while, at least for me, it still takes a while. I'm still trying to wrap my head around the why, right? Like, why would I do that? But at the same time, I'm sure everybody has a friend who collects, you know, a certain band's art, right? And he has it displayed all around his house, so to speak. So yeah, and then lastly, domain names, and that's kind of specific to Ethereum right now, but you can actually buy an NFT of a domain, and then you can create your website on said domain. And so real key, just a lot of information, but there's that cat I was talking about that sold for $600,000. So that picture, 600 grand. And isn't it interesting that I can just copy that off the internet and put it on a, you know, put it on a class. And so that's the difference between the internet now, where I can just, anybody can take the .image file or the .movie file or what have you, and the future where, you know, you would actually have to license ownership. So that'll be a fun one when people learn to use NFTs to license. I'm not going to go into all of them, but here's a really good example on the bottom right of trading cards and collectibles, because yes, there are trading cards, all the different types of art, video games specifically. There have been a lot of games recently that have been built upon NFTs, not games that were like, oh, we're going to build a game, and then at the last minute they were like, let's throw NFTs. These are games that are built around NFTs, where such as Crypto Kittens or Crypto Kitties, if you've heard of that. What's it? Axie Infinity is a new one. In fact, check that one out. That's been spiking lately. They have a Street Fighter, what do you call them? Trading cards now that have actually, like, you know, they only made 20 of the Ryus, and everybody likes Ryu. Sorry if you don't play video games. Content creations, essays generations, just basically anything. And so every marketplace will do kind of digital art, but every marketplace has their own little niche too. Oh, and just to the left, you see all those faces. That's CryptoPunks. That was kind of the very first NFT that was